just when Microsoft earned some goodwill with me by allowing for offline installation of physical games, they take a giant leap backwards by disabling emulators and Homebrew on retail Xboxes. I'm Hikiko, and we're gonna get into why this is a major problem here in this video. Now, as some of you are aware, Microsoft disabled emulators and Homebrew in retail mode on Xboxes. What's retail mode? It's essentially the default mode of the Xbox. You power it on and boom, you're in retail mode. I've made many videos about my love for my Xbox Series X and all the features that I had access to via retail mode, notably being able to play all the emulators and have an all-in-one machine. I've had multiple people throughout the years leave me comments on my videos saying, "Thanks so much for showing me what the Xbox was capable of. I love old school games and this looks like the console for me. I'm gonna go out and buy one." Now, I've been an owner of an Xbox Series X for 3 years now. On the very same day that I got my Xbox, I installed RetroArch on it as well, and I was very excited about the prospect of having an all-in-one console. Being able to play multiple generations of games spanning from the Atari all the way up to the Xbox 360, all running on one console, my Xbox Series X. I didn't have to pay anything to do this. This was free. I could just go on the Edge browser, pick out the emulators I want, get them set up on my retail Xbox, no having to pay for dev accounts, no having to boot into an alternate mode. It was good to go, and I could play what I want anytime I wanted. That was the magic of owning an Xbox over the other systems. It was thousands of games on your terms. Whatever you were in the mood to play, old school, new school, there it was on a console. And for 3 years, it was allowed to go on without any major problems. Granted, it was a constant game of whack-a-mole with Microsoft and the developers of the UWP emulators. The developers would host the newest emulators, and about 48 hours later, Microsoft would pull them down, but that was the nature of things. You picked out the emulators you wanted, you launched them, and Microsoft would take them down from the Microsoft Store, wag their finger at the developers saying, "Okay, don't do that anymore," but you know they were gonna do it again, and it was fine. You were still able to launch your emulators and play your ROMs if you had already downloaded them. That is no longer the case, as Microsoft has stepped in and started disabling all the emulators and Homebrew on retail consoles. Even if you already had them, even if you've already launched them, if your console has connected to the internet since Microsoft sent out the kill signal, then unfortunately your retail emulator days are done. Thankfully, I had my Xbox connected via LAN. When I heard the news that they were disabling retail mode emulators, I disconnected my Xbox from LAN, which allowed me to save my emulators from being destroyed by Microsoft in retail mode. So I still have mine, but unfortunately, not everyone was as lucky as me. For future reference, always disable automatic updates. You never know one day if Microsoft's going to revoke the license of something you own, or perhaps they put out a system update that bricks your console. Disable automatic updates, wait for all the news to come out to see what happened with the new update, if it's stable, and then if it is, update on your own terms. Don't let them do it for you. Immediately after this news story broke, there was a wave of people saying, "Well, what did you expect? This was against the rules." It's fine. There's still dev mode. Let's break this down. For one, you all should be concerned that Microsoft has the ability to revoke your usage of any application on your hardware. That's the biggest problem I have here. I was fine with Microsoft pulling the applications they didn't want on the Microsoft Store off of the store, but legal Homebrew and emulators that are already operational on users' private machines, just flipping the switch, revoking access, blocking people from using them, that's a big problem. Because it doesn't just stop with emulators. No, this could also happen with your already purchased software. For 3 years of the Series X's life, you could not install the games that you bought off the shelf, the discs, onto your console without first connecting online to download a configuration from Microsoft. you had to go online each time if you wanted to play the discs that you bought. And it took a lot of fan outcry to get Microsoft to reverse their decision on this matter. Now, they've since backpedaled and made a great move for the sake of preservation to allow users to install the disc that they own. Collectively, we pointed out the error of this process and how it was not beneficial to the user. They listened and they reversed their decision. So instead of me sitting here trashing on Microsoft for their boneheaded mistake here, I'd rather open up a dialogue and figure out how can we bring emulators back to retail Xboxes. Maybe carve a path towards legal emulation on consoles instead of having lockdown boxes when we exist in a marketplace where stuff like the Steam Deck is advertising stuff like Dolphin, the Wii emulator, on its store to download freely. It's 2023 and it's a bit childish that we can't talk about ROMs and emulators without it turning into some big boogeyman conversation. Emulators themselves aren't inherently illegal. The same goes for ROMs. Users should be able to back up their own cartridges and discs, making their own ROMs and ISOs, and be able to play that on whatever hardware allows them to do so. Let's get down to the root of the problem. Why are users wanting emulators on the Xbox in the first place? Why are they trying to play games like Sonic 06 on their Series X? Maybe this is a failure of service from Microsoft and Sega, for that matter, of not providing the software the user wants to play. Microsoft has already said that they are not adding any more 360 games to their backwards compatibility program. So you've already cut off all hope for a lot of users who may have wanted to play something from the 7th generation that hasn't been ported to PC or any modern console. Maybe all they have is an Xbox and suddenly a solution appears in the form of Zinnia for UWP. What is so wrong with somebody playing that game that you are not selling on your store? That isn't interfering with Xbox Live, that isn't a mod or a cheat engine, it's just an emulator that the user is playing in the privacy of their own home on their own Xbox that they themselves purchased. When your CEO is quoted as saying, "My hope, and I think I have to present it that way as of now, is as an industry, we'd work on legal emulation that allowed modern hardware to run any, within reason, older executable allowing someone to play any game."
When I think about like old ROMs and MAME and these things of like where these old games are going to go as the hardware that's capable of running these or running those games or kind of interpreters and emulation systems, I really wish as an industry we'd come together to help preserve the history of what gaming is about so we don't lose the ability to go back. I think about like what the Paley Center did for TV of, you know, Paley early on saw that TV industry was getting ready to throw away literally the tapes that these old TV shows were on. And he said, hey, I want to archive those because at some point somebody will want to go back and watch the Ed Sullivan Show or something. And those things shouldn't be thrown away. And as an industry, I would love it if we came together to help preserve the history of what our industry is about so we don't lose access to some of the things that got us to where we are today and built this industry. That would be a cool thing.
It seems to me that this is an implicit endorsement of ROMs and emulators, that maybe Phil Spencer sees the value in preserving these old games that are not available for sale anywhere else, that maybe he's had these discussions about getting emulators on the Xbox in the past. Now, if we take that email that was in circulation as holding any sort of weight, there is a passage in there that says, "That said, we are still exploring ways to allow safe and legal emulation on Xbox. We are in talks with legitimate emulator developers to bring their software onto our platform while ensuring that all copyright laws and security protocols are followed." My only question as a user of retail mode that has been using these emulators for 3 years on my Xbox is when? When are you gonna do this? What's the plan? Do you have a timeline for putting legal emulators that have passed all these security checks X back on my Xbox. Because until then, I am not connecting my Xbox Series X to the internet so you can disable my software. Sorry, I know this is a stupid hill to die on, but I'm gonna cancel my Xbox Game Pass, my Ultimate membership. It's gone until further notice. What I'm doing, what the homebrew community is doing, is not illegal. And we don't need to pay you $20 for the privilege of dev mode. Dev mode sucks. Ask anyone in the homebrew community, the Xbox homebrew community, if they would rather do retail mode or dev mode. I would say 10 out of the 10 people polled in this fake poll would vote for retail mode. You can easily fuck it up if you're not familiar with homebrew, cause some major problems for your Xbox, and nobody wants to have to restart their Xbox every time they want to fire up an emulator. It's inconvenient, annoying, and the people who are saying, okay, it's just dev mode, don't really grasp the entirety of this issue. What makes you so sure that they won't revoke access to dev mode now? They already got the ball rolling with retail mode, no warnings whatsoever. They yanked all the services and blocked users from using it. What if they changed their mind on dev mode? Look, I'm not trying to blame anyone here, but I think if you value functionality on your systems that you own, then you better speak up about it. Corporations don't need devil's advocates. They need somebody to open up a dialogue with them and let them know how much these old games mean to us. Hashtag let us emulate. I'm Akiko. See you next time.